You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 219. On today's podcast, we are joined by the lovely Odette from Nouvelle Habit. You've been on Podmas before, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. Maybe last year or the year before.
Honestly, it feels like Christmas was a million years ago. So I've just lost grip of time and everything really, but that's not why we're here, because when we do Podmases, we kind of have a little snapshot of the people that I'm talking to on Podmas, and we usually focus really hard on Christmas. But Odette's amazing, and she's brought out a new product which we are going to talk about later, which I am testing. I love it, although it has been like the hottest summer on record when I was given the job of testing it, but we won't go into that. Anyway, let's crack on. Odette, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Ria.
So I've not given you a great introduction. I've gone off in different tangents, but tell us about your business and what you do.
So my business is quite niche, and up until this year, I would have said that I just make wax cotton horse riding skirts. But as Ria said, I've got a new product out, which is now walking or shooting skirt. So I suppose I make ladies' waterproofs, or wax cotton waterproof skirts in a nutshell, I suppose.
And they are absolutely beautiful. And when Odette says she makes them, she quite literally makes them. Because I do think when people say that they are, they're the sellers of, sometimes people think that others make more than they do, whereas you have designed this, it's unique to you, and you make everything by hand, don't you?
Yeah, every single little bit. And it is something when I talk to people, especially when I've done the shows this summer, and I say, they're handmade by myself. And people do give you that look like, oh yeah, handmade or, made in the UK. But I do make every single little bit. Each leg strap is hand sewn by me. It's a labor of love, but it is really a love. And I like the fact that I am able to customize them. A big part of the business is because they're made to order, they can be bespoke. So people can choose their colored linings, their patterns, the outside colors, their buckle colors. So they're really personal to people. And that means that people can have fun with it, or they can be sentimental. There's so much opportunity and scope there. Whereas if I had them manufactured, I just would lose that. So it's a really important part for me.
Definitely. So tell us about you and your background, because obviously, going from, this is quite, as you say, it's really quite niche. Bespoke wax cotton riding skirts is quite a niche. So how did you get here? What did you do before?
So I've done a few things, but mainly I've worked with horses most of my life. And so I went to college and did equine management, and then went on to become an event groom. I then did my AI and was teaching. I then got a really naughty pony and ended up going down the natural horsemanship route because I'd ran out of any other options with him. And kind of got really fascinated with the psychology of horses and that kind of element and training. I then went on to become an instructor in that. I then went on to doing Liberty. So, a huge mix of equine disciplines and working with horses. So that's kind of where the product evolved from, really, was that I actually suffer really badly with chilblains on my thighs because of poor circulation, but also just as most horse riders probably are shaking their heads and agreeing, the elements, we are constantly in the wet and our legs are getting wet and wind, especially when we're riding. And so I was getting really bad open sores and just wasn't finding anything that I could wear that was helping. There's lots of different things you can try and wear, but all of them have a downfall of some degree. I also get quite hot, so it's a kind of a bit of a weird one that when I'm on the horse, I really need the protection, but as soon as I get off and I'm sweeping the yard or, mucking out, I'm red hot. So I need to be able to kind of strip layers off as quickly as I can kind of put them back on again. And I had a friend who actually asked me if I thought I could make a skirt for her while she was riding, because she also hates the cold. And I kind of said, I don't know, maybe, I'll look into it. Surely somebody else is already doing it. And I found there wasn't really anyone doing it. And I then actually had an accident, and had to take some time off from the horses. So I was kicked, unfortunately, by a young horse. I was checking young horses in a field, just tripped over walking through the grass, long grass. So unhorse related in the fact that it was falling over, and I fell into the hindquarters of a horse, which, as we all know, probably isn't the best thing to do.
Ooh.
So I was given 20% chance of living, and I'd split my liver almost completely in half, and I shattered all my ribs.
You were given a 20% chance of living?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was really bad. I actually remember having a great time, but I think that was the morphine.
Right, I was going to say, something must have been happening there, because that sounds like a rough time.
I mean, I was like, it's fine, everything's great. But yeah, so I had to have quite a long time off. And my mum and dad said, God's sake, can you not work with bloody horses?
I can understand why they would think that when they're
other passions. You're very creative. My mum and dad are artists, so we're a very creative family. And so I actually retrained and did some upholstery. I learned to become a traditional upholsterer because I've always liked fabrics and colour, and it's quite hands-on.
So is this kind of, just to speak to me like I'm 5, so traditional upholstering is when you're recovering or covering, these beautiful chairs, headboards, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the difference between the traditional upholstery and just upholstery, traditional upholstery is that I would be able to restore a chair that is 200 years old, and I would restore it as if it was made 200 years old. So I wouldn't be using any foam, no staples. It would all be hand steel tacks. It would be animal hair, and we use coconut husks now, like the hair off coconut, instead of like mane and tail, because obviously the volume that you need, it used to be from slaughtered animals. We don't do that so much anymore. So it's using traditional methods, and building up the layers and using springs. So it was more like restoration upholstery rather than just modern day upholstery.
So before you tried to die on your parents, did you do any kind of sewing or anything before, or textiles? Because obviously you said your friend said to you, could you make me a skirt? I am pretty sure none of my friends would say that to me, and if they did, we would have a laugh about it. Well, I actually did do textiles at GCSE and got an A, but which I do remind people of when they can see that I've tried to sew something and it looks like a cat's done it.
I think I'm one of those people that I'm always, as I said, family's quite creative, so I think I did make some really bad, and I mean, I love looking back at my sewing because it is atrocious, the stuff that I came up with. I was making like rope bags. So with the natural horsemanship, we have lasso ropes, which are round, hard ropes. They're almost like like your garden hose.
Okay, that kind of bendability.
Yeah, and so they're always in a circle unless it's fully out, sort of thing. They're horrible to work with. But if you see a cowboy, getting ready to lasso a horse, that the rope he's using is called a lasso. It's that sort of rope. So anyway, you need round bags for them, and we don't sell them in the UK because they're not a UK thing. So you have to import them from America. So I was making like out of old horses' rugs, broken New Zealand rugs. I was then making these rope bags for people.
Right.
And I think I also went for a phase of making fun fur hat silks for your skull cap that had teddy bear ears.
That's quite cool.
I'm one of those people that has always been a bit wacky and made stuff. So it's not discommon for someone to say, "Do you reckon you can?" And I'll go, "I don't know, give it a go."
No, that makes a bit more sense. So you smashed up your liver and your ribs as well, did you say?
Yeah.
I'm sure Dr. Di will listen to this. I know that's not a technical term, Di. I'm not a doctor, as we know, but bad way. Then you went off and trained in traditional upholstery because your parents didn't. Yeah, excellent. And then what happened then? Because still traditional upholstery is
a jump.
It is quite a jump, isn't it, to making what you do now?
It is. And I enjoyed doing the upholstery, but I was glutton for punishment, and I wanted to be working with the horses really. So I ended up moving away from home, because then your parents can't tell you off so much, and went back to working on a yard in Cirencester. And I I basically just had a really bad run. So I had the kick, that was bad. I then had an ectopic pregnancy, which was pretty nasty. So I had to have emergency surgery for that.
Jesus.
During that surgery, we found out, after sort of like 6 months later, found out that my bladder had stopped working. So then I was in hospital for quite a long time with that. And so all of this time, I'm like working on the yards, then being rushed off to hospital, having to have a few months off. And then I was like determined to get,
because none of these are minor things. I mean, yeah, after each of these, you need to have a lot of, like, a decent time to recover. Otherwise, you go back to work too early, and then you're in a world of problems again, aren't you?
Yes, my body was just, it was like, it really knew that I shouldn't be doing what I was doing, and it was dead set on making sure I wasn't going to. So I had like, my 20s were crap, basically.
It sounds rough. It does sound rough.
And so I got to the point where my on and off illnesses and health were so unpredictable that I was unreliable. I couldn't work on a yard. I couldn't manage a yard, because it was like, oh, she's in the sick bed, go and ask her what needs doing, sort of thing. It's not how it works.
Knowing you, she's in hospital in surgery, because these aren't minor, oh, I don't feel well today things. These are very serious.
Yeah, so I had this kind of just this ricochet of stuff, and so I had to stop working, but I'm not very good at standing still or not doing anything, and so I actually got a job. I met an amazing lady who owns a company where she hires out flags and bunting to festivals, weddings, corporate events, all sorts, and she needed someone to just help out and do a little bit of like repairing flags and stuff. And I was like, well, I can definitely do that. And I explained to her, look, I'm a massively sickly person right now. I might be able to work, but I might not, And she was like, that's great. Whatever you can do, you can do. If you can't, you can't. And so I ended up working with Claire for about 4 years. And so that's where my sewing skills really ramped up, because I started sewing a lot. And I mean, like, nothing complicated, but when you start sewing thousands and thousands and thousands of meters of bunting, you get confident on a machine. I was fast, I was getting the hours in, and so it was during that I decided to take the idea of this skirt, that I had some time. I was working part-time, I had my own horse still, so I had the horse that I could go and try out my ideas. And Claire kind of supported me. She was like, let's do it, and then you can work for yourself, and then it doesn't, you're in control of your health and everything like that. So I enrolled at Bath College and did a week's course of pattern cutting, which is very complicated.
Yes, well, I've heard this.
I'm going to make a jacket, I say no.
I've heard this from a few sources, that pattern cutting is quite something.
So I did this week course, and then the lady that ran it is a very lovely lady called Joy, who's still she's my guardian angel. She's my go-to lady. I said to her, look, I've really enjoyed the course, but I don't want to learn how to make pleated puffy armed jackets. I would like to I've got this vision, and I don't know how to do it. And will you home tutor me? And she said yes.
Oh, wow.
And so while I worked for Claire over the sort of 4 years, Joy helped me every time we made a prototype. I then went and tested it on my horse, which the first lot of prototypes were curtains. They were floral curtains because it was a heavy material, but it was free. So yeah, there was, me riding around the farm on my horse with my curtains flapping around, not doing what they should be doing because the design was awful. Because I had no idea where, I didn't bother really looking at anybody else's riding skirts because I just knew what I needed it to do.
Well, I mean, when you created them, were there many?
There was a few, yeah. So
Okay.
once I'd sort of got further down the line and realised that it was probably something that I was going to properly pursue, I thought I probably should have a look at what else is about. And also I then started looking into like the history of riding habits.
Yeah.
So that's why it's called Nouvelle Habit, is because a habit is originally what they were called. Lots of people think side saddle aprons are habits, which they are, but skirts are also classed as a habit. It's a broad term for a coverall. So like what nuns wear are also called habits.
Yeah,
So
that's a fair point.
it's just a broad term for covering, basically.
Yes, because if you're listening to, and at this point you think, hang on a minute, I thought it was for side saddle. No, no, these are for astride riding.
Yes, so stride riding. So common mistake, perfectly acceptable. But yeah, so I started looking at the history of the habit as well, and riding skirts are out and about. So there was a couple more in Europe and in America, and they were full circle skirts. So they are no split at the back. They've got full fabric, so they cover quite a lot of the horse's bum as well.
Right.
And they generally are made out of either synthetic rainproof with fleece linings, or are woolen, because they're just sort of designed for cold countries rather than wet.
That would be quite a big thing to wear, wouldn't it? There's a lot of fabric in that.
Yeah, so this is what I found, what I wanted from my product, because I was designing it for myself, was that I wanted something that I could still school my horse in. I didn't want to have a product that I could only hack in,
Yeah.
because I didn't have the luxury of having an indoor school. I had just fields and the outdoor school. So, you know, come rain or shine, I needed to be able to walk, trot, canter, gallop, and jump my horse. I needed to be able to go sideways. I needed to be able to get on and off. I needed to be able to open gates and it still do the job and not get in the way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, as soon as I kind of saw the full circle ones, I was like, dismissed it instantly. I was like, that's great for hacking.
Yeah.
You know, brilliant. But I don't need that. And I was also working with sensitive horses again, because I'm glutton for punishment. And, you know, again, I didn't want anything that was going to rustle, flap around, or do anything like that.
Yeah.
And so that was when I started looking at the history of them. Originally, they were designed for men to wear in the military, and they were out of in a canvas, a waxed, really heavy canvas. They were normally navy or black, and they had big brass buckle fastenings, and they were just a wraparound, and very, very simple. And it was just to keep them dry and to protect them from brambles and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And yeah, as you say, it's horses for courses, isn't it? If you are just tacking out and it's super, super cold, then it sounds like the big wool one is a kind of exercise sheet and riding skirt combo. But lots of people don't have indoor schools. So having that ability to be able to school and jump and do everything else in it is really, really good. So how many prototypes did you have before you got to the Moorland?
So it was 13 prototypes. Yeah, 13 prototypes with a few little extra tweaks in between prototypes. But yeah, 13 main prototypes before I got there. Yeah, hugely different. I had long ones, short ones, all sorts really. We had random ties all over the place. And yeah, it was a lot of head scratching going on, because I was the horse rider and Joy, you know, works with clothes and makes patterns, but has never ridden. So there was this dynamic of me saying, she's like, oh, it looks great off the horse. You know, it was looking good and it fitted. But then I'd get it on the horse and I'd go, yeah, but it's not got enough stretch across it. You know, it's still riding up here, or it's uncomfortable. Or so we actually ended up building a hobby horse in the house. My partner helped me build, so it had a frame with a saddle on with my stirrups, so that I could,
Oh my God,
ride, essentially, like practice with Joy there, so she could kind of see, because otherwise it was like I was reporting back, she's not seeing it. So yeah, it was a long process, and I was obviously doing my other job, and I was having to learn along the way. It was like constantly new for me as well. So
So
yeah.
how long ago did the final prototype get the sort of sign off?
So I had been riding in mine for about a year before COVID. So
Right.
what's that, 4 years?
Oh God, when was COVID? 2020? Yeah,
I don't know. I
20,
mean, since COVID, all time has walked into something weird for me. Yeah.
hasn't it? I heard I was listening to a podcast the other day and they referred to it as the before times, before COVID, and it just made me chuckle because so yeah, 2020 was when COVID started. So you were riding it in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did you think, I'm going to sell this? I'm going to bring it to market. I'm going to sell it.
Well, basically, I was really happy in it. I was enjoying it lots. I was starting to get people asking if I was going to, because I was on livery yards with other people who were getting a bit jealous and a bit envious, kind of on my mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, COVID, that was the moment when I was working, because I was working for Claire, which was in events. The event industry went down overnight. It was one of the weirdest things ever. My partner works in events as well, and it was to go into work and absolutely everything for the entire year was cancelled in a day, basically, across the UK. And it was like, okay, holy moly, what are we gonna do? And I had my sewing studio at my house. I thought, well, it's now or never, really, because I don't have any income. So I rushed around before we didn't know we were going to get shut down, so it was just good timing, really. But managed to get some fabrics, managed to get a couple of rolls of wax cotton and a few rolls of linings, and had my friend who was coming down from Scotland. She came down and rode my pony, and we did a really, really quick photo shoot. And then another friend built my website, and it was all systems go.
Wow. So what was it like when you got your first order? I think that's always a thing.
Terrifying.
Really?
Absolutely terrifying. It was the day I launched. The day I launched, I got an order first thing in the morning from a girl in Scotland.
Oh my God.
I don't even know her first name, because when she filled out her thing, it was just her surname. And it was terrifying, because I was like, oh my God, I've actually got to make something for someone. What if it's rubbish? What if they don't like it? What if the product doesn't work? What if I'm delusional? All of this imposter syndrome just like flooding in.
Oh,
what if it doesn't work? Maybe it doesn't work. What if it's just going to flap around? And like just massive amounts of doubt. And then feeling sick for 2 days while I made it.
Brilliant. But obviously it wasn't rubbish, because it's a fabulous product. And then I assume that she received it and was delighted.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm actually really, really lucky. I've got the most wonderful client base. My customers are an absolute delight. They're really lovely people, and I love working with them. So they make it less terrifying, but it still can be a bit terrifying.
Now, we touched on at the start that each product is handmade. Can you talk us through, not revealing any trade secrets, of course, but how many pieces go into one of these skirts? How long does it take to make? What's the process?
So the riding skirt takes about 2 days, just short of 2 days, from start to finish. And I can't remember, last time I counted, I think it's around 70 pieces for the riding skirt, which is quite a lot of components. Joy, who was saying, is the pattern cutter who I work with. She helped me grade it. So that's when you take your original pattern that was my size, and then you make it into the smaller and bigger sizes. she now hates doing that because of it, because it was so complicated
Oh,
and
God.
just so many pieces. But yeah, it's something around like 70 components. And I mean, it's the riding skirt is a beast of its own, because it's like almost two skirts that you're then joining together because of the split at the front and the split at the back.
In the back,
So
you've got that extra material, haven't you, to go over the horse as well?
yeah, the underskirt. So it's quite a lot of pieces, and it just involves me cutting. I cut it all out by hand with a rotary blade, and then there's the first round of pinning, and then the first round of sewing, and then you're pinning and sewing and pinning and sewing, and then the final bit is when I have to do the yoke, which is the waistband, and that has been is still the hardest bit to do, because I'm going through so many layers. There's one point where I'm going through about 12 layers.
Oh, wow.
And so I have to pin that, and I'm not even joking, I bleed for every skirt, because when I'm having to pin that section, I have to push the pins so hard, and I'm going through so many layers that I guarantee that I stab myself. I bought 700 plasters last year, which sounds like a ridiculous amount of plasters to buy. I only have 200 left.
Oh my God. You need to get some like little gauntlets or something.
It's mad, isn't it?
Or
But
thimbles.
we had loads of thimbles.
Loads of thimbles. Be like thimble queen.
The thing is, even if it's just a teeny little prick, I have to cover it, because obviously I don't want to get blood on it. So it's a ridiculous amount used for not a lot of blood. But yeah, it's just that is the trickiest bit, because I'm also sewing on the top side, so the wax cotton side, which is where I've folded, but I'm sewing blind underneath. So I have to make sure that I don't slip into the actual skirt, that I stay on the yoke. So like when I first started making them, I just would, sweat, dreading. It's just really terrified. But I've now made quite a few, so I'm a lot more confident. There's less injuries, and yeah, definitely less stressful. But I love doing that bit now, because it's like these two sides, because it's like these two bits suddenly become this one thing, and then I turn it around and it's like almost finished, and you get to see it as a whole, especially when people have picked really fun linings, and you don't quite know how it's going to look until it's finished, and then sewing the buckles on, and then it's like you're on the home run, and that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were talking about the bespoke shop options earlier again. So with the skirt, you can have any element bespoke, can't you? If you wanted it a bit longer, a bit shorter.
Yep.
If you can have a standard, there are 4 wax colors, aren't there? And then 2 linings you can pick from.
Yeah. So the standard linings that I've got a blue and a red rose that is a fabric design that I did, and so they're for the yoke. So with the yoke, which is that wide waistband, because when I start to sew the buckles on, you have internal like stitching on the inside. I always say to people, it's much nicer to have a patterned on that inside bit, because it then masks your stitching. It doesn't look so, I notice it, no one else does, but it just draws the eye away from all the top stitching. So I have the blue and a red rose that you can put in there, and then I've got just some plain colours that you can do the sort of main skirt lining, which is just brown, wine, racing green, and a navy. It's just fairly traditional sort of colours, but most people choose to have bespoke, because if your fabrics are £10 a metre or less, then there's no extra charge. So for a lot of people, cottons and things like that aren't hugely expensive. So for most people, it's totally doable to find a fabric that's unique for them and that they love, that costs that in that range, and so therefore it doesn't cost them anything extra to have that bespoke. And I encourage it as well, because I think if you're going to have something made like this that is handmade, and it's a lifetime piece that's going to stay with you, why not have it truly unique? And I made one last week where a lady really wanted a black wax cotton, And so that's not a color that I have, but I was able to contact my wax suppliers and say to them, look, can I get a short run of black? And they, were able to do it still in the same price range, so that I was able to do a completely customed, black skirt for her. So, anything is possible. Sometimes there may be a little bit more of a charge, but I'm always trying to make sure that there isn't, really, because it's fun.
What's been your favorite bespoke?
Ooh, my favorite at the moment, because I like a lot of them most of the time, but I did one. A lady just received hers last week, and she had it was a vintage brown on outside, and then the yoke she had in a dark navy, but had loads of little motorbikes on, because her partner is obsessed with motorbikes and has lots of motorbikes and is a keen biker. So she wanted to have something that represented him. And then on the inside of the lining of the skirt, she had navy, but with loads of like really beautiful blue roses. Like, well, it was blue, but then with like pink roses on it. And the two fabrics just paired up really well, even though they're both pattern. And I just thought it's really lovely to have, that she wanted a bit of her partner as well as herself, like the two just combined. And I like it when people, do something that is quite out there, but it works. And the thing is that most of the time, hardly anyone sees the lining.
Yes, it's like a secret, but like a nice one.
Yeah, it's really personal to you. Like, if you're doing up your girth, then you might give someone a little flash of you underneath. But otherwise, it is really personal to you. So I think, why not do something that means something or that you love?
Didn't you have one? I might have made this up, or if not, it's an idea that someone had used like a fabric from a relative or something like that.
Yeah, I had someone that had their grandfather's shirt. And so had the yoke was made out of her granddad's shirt.
I love that idea. So it makes it really, really special, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And I had another lady, hers was all her wedding colours. But another lady, I haven't made hers yet, but she's on the cutting list. She's mad about pigs. She's like, just loves pigs, has pig ornaments everywhere. Grandchildren call her the pig lady. And so she's got flying pigs. They're going to go inside hers.
Oh, that's going to look awesome.
Yeah. And I think that just makes me really happy.
Definitely. So we've been talking about the Moorland skirt.
Yeah.
So you've currently got 3 different riding skirts, haven't you? So can you talk us through those?
Yeah, so we have the original Moorland, which is the one I've been whittling on about. And then we've also now got the Moorland Extra. So the difference being in that one is that the lining on the inside, your yoke is still a pattern material, but the lining of the skirt is now a tweed. So that's just adding in, obviously, extra heat and a little bit of extra weight. So that really is for people that are like myself. If you really suffer with chilblains, or you live in a country where it's really cold, or you're a coldy person, really. So I had a lady who's elderly lady who's still out hunting, and she was like, I need something that's going to keep me really, really toasty, and so she had one made not that long ago. But that's the core difference between that one. And then we go up a level again of heat, and we have what is called the Highland, which is basically got sheepskin in it. So it's not as heavy as you think it would be, because the sheepskin is only over the thigh area. So the front section that sits over the front of your horse's wither, and front of saddle, that is still cotton lining. And the bit that sort of sits over the back of the horse's bum and over the back of your saddle, that's still cotton. Because I didn't want to put too much sheepskin in, because we don't want to obviously overheat our horse either.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that they may not appreciate having that much heat on top. So really, it's just for the rider's thighs. And yeah, it's pretty blooming lovely.
Sounds amazing.
I actually was asked if I could do it. So it wasn't an idea that I had myself. I had a lady called Jane who contacted me, and she lives up in Scotland, and she said, you know, could you do this? Would it be possible? And I said, well, my sewing machine can sew through leather, so it should be. And so I made myself one, obviously.
Obviously.
Just because. Yeah, tested it out, and it was all good. So yeah, so she was the reason the Highland became a product, really.
So I was involved, or am involved, and I don't know whether I was invited or just asked. No, I think I was invited. You've just brought a really cool new product, and obviously I've got a puppy. Well, he's going through teenage rebellion at the moment, which is not the funnest. I'm sure you've had it with Hector. But we will be doing a lot of walking in the winter, and I don't like being cold at all. I'm quite tall, so even when I get a longer length coat, it doesn't keep me that dry all the way down to the floor. And you have created something which is amazing. I've worn it a little bit, but then we had the hottest summer on record, so that's been slightly problematic to test it, but I feel incredibly glamorous in it, and I do feel like I could probably take on any wet weather activity. So talk to us about your new creation.
So this is the walking skirt, and again, it sort of came about because I very sadly lost my horses during lockdowns and all of that, and the horse market went absolutely berserk, and I was it was an understatement. I was very upset from losing my horses, and didn't really feel like I had the energy or headspace to kind of get another one, but decided to get a puppy, like, you know, you
Obviously.
did.
Yeah, there was an incident.
And it was actually a product that I was already kind of playing with, because the lady who originally said, do you think you can make a riding skirt? By the time I got back to her and said, I've done it, she went, well, that's great. I sold the horse 2 years ago. I don't ride anymore. It's like, bugger. Sorry. I was a little slow off the mark. And she said, well, that's fine, but I do have gun dogs and I go beating. Could you make something for that? And so it was something that I was already kind of thinking about, had sort of been playing around with. And then, as with everything, you know, you need time, and you need inspiration, and you need something that gives you the push towards doing it. And me losing the horses really freed up that kind of time and space for me to push and put my energy into it.
Yeah.
And so I really started, you know, again, making prototypes and testing. And so yeah, the walking skirt came out this April, and it is a wraparound skirt, so you pop it on over whatever you're wearing, and again, it's wax cotton, it buckles up at the side, so it's not dissimilar to the riding skirt when you're off, but obviously has a lot less of the sort of gadgets that go into the riding skirt, and yeah, it's designed to do whatever you want to do, really. I said to a lady the other day when I was at a show, I said, I wear mine, you know, down to the shops if it's raining, and she thought it was hilarious.
Oh no, I'll be doing
funny
that.
about that?
I'll be doing school run, you name it. I don't like getting wet. But the thing is, this bizarre. I've got it hanging up in the hall at the moment. If you lift it up, and actually with the riding skirt as well, if you just lift it up in your hand, you think, oh, this is quite heavy, because it's obviously made with a lot of fabric. You put it on, I don't know what magic happens in between. It doesn't feel happy. It kind of makes you feel thinner, because you've got this kind of wide waistband. I love it, honestly. If I could get away with wearing it all the time, I would. This kind of really nice supportive wide waistband with these buckles. So again, and you feel like a bit sort of Downton Abbey Bridgerton-esque, and who doesn't want that? And it doesn't feel at all heavy. When I have worn it a little bit, and then before, you know, the sun, and I, you know, took the dog out with it, was in it for quite a long time. I didn't even notice it. I was sad to take it off when I got home, because when I took it off and was in the warm house, I was like, oh, I'm a bit chilly now.
Yeah.
It's lovely. And they are magic. You do feel like really kind of grand in them somehow.
Yeah, they are very supportive. And what I found when I was doing the designing for both of them was that that yoke, that wide waistband, is what is key to taking the weight,
Mm.
because it spreads the weight load. If you have a, a jean size waist, that sort of like inch or 2 inches, there's so much weight load and pressure that you really feel it. Whereas by increasing that waistband and raising it up slightly at the back, where the weight starts to come off is just at the point of your hips, and so yeah, it just sort of evaporates that weight load, really.
Flipping magic. It's, if you are listening to this, try one, because it's weird. I know you brought one up to the social sessions event, and I have a video of me twirling around, and it was just like magic. It's so comfortable, and so cozy. And that, the one I've got is the equivalent of the Moorland, isn't it? It's just lined with cotton, and that's still really cozy.
Yeah, so the walking skirts, they have an anti-static lining in them. So I originally did do them with cotton, but what I found was that certain materials, like if you have a brushed leggings, like cotton legging on, it grabbed and then it rode up, which is not what you want. So all the walking skirts have an anti-static lining, but then your yoke can be bespoke, that can be patterned, and actually that can also be, I did one that was like cordial the other day in there, because actually it's not moving, so you can have that quite plush. You could have a tweed in there, or velvet, or
that would be
anything.
nice.
Yeah, like a little snuggly bit around your waist.
Well, that sounds very cozy.
I think I find funny with it is that, I was like, oh, I'll make it for when I go out walking, but actually, like I said to this lady, I do wear it when I walk down to the shops. I wear it when I go anywhere where it's raining. Whereas previously, I would have never bothered to put on a pair of waterproof trousers to walk to the shops. That would have been mad. I would have just been prepared to get wet. Whereas now it's like, I don't ever have to prepare to be wet. I can just be dry.
It's so much
such a
easier.
strange thing to like.
But it's so much easier. Like waterproof trousers, we've got a few pairs knocking around the house. I can never be bothered with them because I need to stand on one leg, dance around the hallway, get either soaked when I take it's just a real faff. And we were talking about riding earlier. Obviously you can have full chaps, which are great, but you get a soaking wet backside. And if you're really unlucky, it then kind of dribbles down the inside of your legs, which is a delight. And you get off your horse and you might have dry thighs, but you look like you've wet yourself, which is always fun. And also in the saddle, if you wore like a full I know there are actually some very good trousers you can wear for riding, but again, it's putting it on and taking off. If you're putting it on and you're going to keep it on, brilliant. But if you're putting it on and taking it off,
that's what I found. I just was getting so hot that you get back and you have to strip off. And those like the good ones of the waterproof trousers and stuff are very fitted as well. So you sort of have to peel yourself out of them. It's a bit like a wetsuit. It's brilliant, but you're getting in and out of it, bloody annoying.
It's a challenge. I know. I think they're awesome, and I'm genuinely really looking forward to wearing my walking skirt, because I was looking at these long length jackets as well to have instead, and I thought, I'm only going to wear that occasionally when it's really peeing it down. And because of the way that the walking skirt works, I imagine I'll be in it all winter, because just even when it's a bit chilly, it's going to really help keep my legs warm.
That's it. I mean, it keeps you, one, warm, and two, dry. It also means that you can put it on. I mean, I was staying on Dartmoor a few weeks ago, and we went camping on Dartmoor for the week, and it was, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Dartmoor. Dartmoor has its own microclimate.
Okay.
So because it's big open moorland, weather moves in and out very quickly. So we would be going from 25, 26 degrees red hot sunshine to then you'd be watching these black ominous clouds rolling in. You're like, cool, give it half an hour, it's going to be absolutely torrential.
Oh wow.
And then, and then it would be boiling sunshine again. So my skirt was with me, and I was wearing it over the top of tiny hot pants from when it was red hot, but it was obviously keeping the rain off me. And that's the beauty, is that you can put it over something really thin, or you can put it over your really big bulky layers. So it accommodates, you just dress underneath to the sort of coldness or the time of year, I suppose. So rather than thinking as it, like I bought one of those massive long big padded coats when I got the dog and it was really cold and I was doing puppy training and I was like, it'd be amazing, but I can't walk in it, I get too hot. It's great. I can stand around in it, and actually I can't stand around it because the dog doesn't stand still and I end up sweating because he's doing somersaults on the end of a lead. Whereas with the skirt you can just wear a coat with it, layer it up, and then it's not just a winter product. It's not just got a 3 or 4 month window. You can wear it all year round.
Definitely. One thing we said as well is that these are like products for life, and so I'm not going to say they're not cheap, because actually I think we as consumers need to be looking at the cost per wear with any product that we buy. And to be honest, if you work it out on that, the riding skirts are incredibly cheap. There probably isn't a waterproof product that is cheaper. I haven't done the sums on everything, but the point is that you buy these products for life. You can repair them, as in people can send them back to you.
Yeah.
They can be reproofed.
Yeah.
And if you think that
you can alter them as well. So I've had actually 2 ladies that have lost weight and have needed to, ideally they would have gone down a skirt size, but obviously rather than doing that, I've been able to move the buckles and make adjustments and just customize their skirt so that it now fits them
that's
again.
brilliant. And I think that's the thing, we do need to think about the cost per wear. And also I think the fact that you make in the UK, you do small runs, there's no excess stuff, you even reuse the wax, don't you, for ear warmers?
Yeah, I've got the little projects coming up for those for the offcuts. Yeah.
So I think that it's really cool, and how it is a product that will last you years and years and years and years with the correct care is such a good way to be looking at how to buy things nowadays. Because
I think as well, it's funny because I think when it's a new product and there's not a lot to gauge it off as well, people are a bit funny with that kind of price ranges. But when you say to them, how much did you buy your coat for? How much did you buy your coat for and how long has it lasted you? Oh, I bought this coat, for £250 and actually it's not waterproof anymore. And it's, did me one winter. But because coats are in that, when you're looking at, high-end stuff, people will pay £600, £700, £800 for a coat. With that, but it's because there's such a broad range of coats that are in that it's kind of, your mind's kind of set up for it. Whereas my product is so new, there's nothing really to compare it against, so it's kind of just in its own little ether of its product, really.
No, I think it's really, really cool. And I think the bespoke aspect just makes it even more special as well. It's such a really, really nice addition. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today before I ask you all of your details?
No, I don't think so. No, I think I've said everything I need to.
Well, I am really looking forward to wearing it in winter, because I do hate getting wet. Actually, I got caught out in the rain yesterday because I insisted to the children it wouldn't rain. We got so wet. And I was just saying to you, I've got a bit of a funny thing on the outside of my leg. I blame an epidural for having children. And if it gets wet, like cold wet, it just burns. And I was really cross with myself for not judging the weather. I should have worn my skirt. I should have just worn my skirt. Next time, I'll be honest.
Just go for the hot pants and waterproof skirt look,
No one wants to see that. Although I would have the skirt over, so it'd be fine, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Actually, I suppose that's the only thing I might say is I have got some more ideas of skirts, and one that I have actually already made for someone is I'm probably will bringing out a tweed version of the walking skirt.
So the outside as well, or the inside?
Outside, so just the outside will be tweed.
Oh wow.
So the outside will be tweed, the yoke of the outside will be a wax cotton, and then the inside will have the anti-static. So yeah, it will be Well, the lady that has hers, she uses it as her après shoot skirt.
I was just thinking it'd be great for shooting. There's some beautiful feel coats that are always tweed, aren't they? And tweed, I know it's not waterproof, but it does have some resistant qualities, doesn't it?
Yeah, water resistant because of the wool. And you know, sheep innately are waterproof, water resistant, so it has that element in it. But yeah, she has a wax cotton one that she wears while she's out on the field.
Right.
And then when she goes for the drinks afterwards, she then whips into the tweed one, and she can look smart and snazzy still.
I love that, but still cozy.
It's still nice and warm. Yeah, so again, I made myself one, and last winter I lived in it, just with with leggings over the top, and then just want to nip out but you want to look a bit smarter, just pop the tweed one over the top. So that will hopefully be next year.
I love that. Well, we need to watch this space anyway, because you've always got stuff that's coming out and things you're trying and testing, haven't you?
Yeah.
So tell us all the places where we can find you online.
So my Instagram and Facebook are both Nouvelle Habit, and then the website is www.nouvellehabit.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a delight as always.
Thank you for having me.